Hi there, I'm Pat, the artist behind Freestyle Fine Art, and today I'm going to show you how to paint a bird of paradise. I went ahead and already sketched everything out on my block, but I'm going to go ahead and draw it here with a dark marker just to kind of show you what we're going to do and make it easier for you to see. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the vertical stem, and we're going to want it to go up a little past 2/3 of the way up. I'm going to draw it like that. You're going to want to kind of taper the edge right there, like this, because of how this kind of main fleshy body where all the iconic flowers and foliage come out of. And then we're going to draw one up like this. These are all just kind of long almond shapes. Nothing too crazy. And one right here. Then one right here. And I'm not going to want you to draw these anywhere near as dark as this. I lightly sketched it in with a pencil originally. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of draw this little bit right here. Curve around down like that, and then just kind of jab forward, and it's going to kind of go to a point. When you're doing this in pencil, you're going to want to erase that line right there because that will help to put this part in front of all of this. So now that we have that out of the way, we can go ahead and start painting. I am using Aqua Bee Paper that I turned into a watercolor block. And I'm going to be using the Windsor and Newton Cadmium Studio palette. I'm going to be using the colors of cerulean blue, cadmium red deep, and cadmium yellow pale. And actually what I'm going to start off with today is we're just going to kind of spritz the entire page with some water. And I've already pulled out some puddles of the paint right here. Get some red, a little bit yellow, nice orange, then add some blue in to neutralize that. And we're just going to kind of paint this in, kind of loosely going around the shapes that we drew in. In some areas are going to be more one color than another, and that's okay because it'll help to create a more interesting background. And the reason that we're using the only 3 colors that we're painting with to make this neutrally background instead of using like a brown or a Payne's gray or something like that is to kind of help create color harmony in the entire piece. This is actually one of the things that I do whenever I'm testing out a new brand of paint is I'll paint a bird of paradise just because they are so vividly colored and I like doing these neutral backgrounds with it. Just to kind of test the paint and see how it works. And one thing you can do to make the orange of the leaves pop a little more is to have the neutral background part around in here more focused on the blue. And that will kind of push the background back even more because blue is a cooler tone and it will bring forward the orange more. And if you don't have the specific paints that I'm using, it's totally okay. All you need is kind of a neutrally cool blue, and that's undertone, specifically speaking, a kind of neutrally red, and then a cooler yellow. Because just like in my orange mixing video before, it's a lot easier to make an orange with a, not harmonizing yellow than it is with a red that just isn't working. One thing I actually am doing is I'm kind of making it redder in here near the stalk, I think is what they're called, just to kind of help pull that green forward that we're going to be mixing. I'm just going to soften these lines out a little bit. And if you want to have blooms in the background, which I actually really like, I think it adds interest, Go ahead and splatter on some water in the spots that you started with originally. Go ahead and blot off the spots on the flower that got water on them. So what you can do now is you can either let it dry, or you can use a heat gun or a hair dryer or something like that to go ahead and dry it faster, which is what I'm going to do. And I will pause y'all and I will be right back. And we're back. So this is what it looks like dry, just the background done. I love how the blooms create this awesome texture in here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to clean off a bit of my palette where I was mixing that neutral color. And I'm going to get a little more yellow, actually a lot more yellow, because all of the mixes we're doing today are going to be heavier on the yellow than any other color. Then I'm going to get some more cerulean, which is right here, and plop that there. And mix a little bit of the blue in with the green. Create this like bright, vivid color. Add in a little bit of the red just to neutralize it down some. We're going to go ahead and start off by painting the stalk. So just gently painting that, because you're going to want it to be a fairly smooth, flat wash for this first layer. Then I'm going to mix in a little more red. Put this down here, grab some of the green, because this little bud part is always a more neutralized green than the stalk is. Just going to paint that in. Do not be afraid to turn your work to make it easier for you to paint. Whatever it is that you're painting, that's one of the reasons why I like making these homemade watercolor blocks as opposed to just taping everything down. Because like if you tape down to the table, then you know you kind of can't really move your table. But you can always get those boards, which I don't have patience for. Okay, cleaning the brush. I'm going to grab some more yellow, plop it up here. And I'm going with some red to create a nice vivid orange. This we're not really going to neutralize a lot at all, really. Go ahead and turn this upside down, and I'm going to start off with these three in the back. Since they're not touching any neutrally wet areas, I don't have to worry about the color running. One thing I am going to do with this is once I'm done painting in these three leaves or bits of the flower, I'm going to go in and drop in a little bit of red to kind of help give it this shadowy look to help push them back a little further in space. And just do some nice flat even washes. Pick up a little bit of red and kind of drop it in here. And one of the things I don't like about the common paints is that they don't really flow very well, as opposed to, you know, the brands that I usually work with, which are Lucas and Core. That stuff, you know, goes everywhere in all the best ways. And Mission Gold does too. I'm just kind of streaking up some lines of the red to kind of help give the leaves that character folding appearance. And since we're doing a wet to wet, it's going to come across as very loose and blended, which is exactly what we're going for. So now we're going to do this little bit right here. So I'm going to grab some blue, fairly watered down blue. Again, I'm turning my work to make it easier for me. And just going to kind of touch that right there. You want to leave a little bit of space between this little blue flower bit and the pod that the leaves come out of so that the paints don't intermingle. There we go. So now we can either, you know, let it dry or use a heat gun or what have you. I'm going to rock the heat gun and I'll be right back. And we're back. One of the ways that you can test to see if your paper is actually dry, because there's this weird in-between area that happens whenever it's not shiny anymore, but it's still wet. And if you, add in paint or add in water, you're going to get these blooms, which, if that's what you're going for a background, that's awesome. If it's not what you're going for, you're not going to like it. What you can do is you can kind of touch it with the back of your hand, and if it feels cool, that means that it's still wet. So now, cleaning off the brush, I'm going to go in with some more of this orange. Gonna get a little bit of yellow, just kind of liven it up. Touch of red. There we go. And we're going to paint these other 3 leaves now. So one thing that I like to do whenever I'm painting these is have them red closer to the base and then yellow closer to the tips. So we're going to do kind of the same thing that we did with the other ones, where we just painted it and then dropped in color and did some little streaks. I'm going to just do these 2 for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some red. Just kind of drop it in here at the base. And then streak it up some. And grab some more red and do it on this one as well. And then rinse that off. So you can grab some paint directly from the pan, get some yellow. Just going to work that into the tip of the flower. So it looks like this one dried faster than the other one did, so the streaks are going to be more defined, which isn't bad because we're going to go in and do some more streaks on the other ones as well, which means we'll have to do less on this one. Okay, so now I'm gonna make some orange. We're gonna go in and do this one now. We're gonna rinse off. Grab the red, a little more from the pan because I was running low. Mixing that in with the orange to lessen the intensity, and just doing some streaks. Ooh, got a little bit on the blue bit. Anytime you get paint somewhere you don't want it, you can just go in quickly with a clean, dry paper towel or a clean, relatively dry brush. You can just put the brush there, siphon out the moisture, and then kind of scrub it off. And that will generally, as long as it's a non-staining color, will lift the color. And I think the only staining color that we're using in this painting is the cerulean blue, because that is a PB15-3 and a PY6. Yeah, PB15-3 is phthalo blue. So it's literally just phthalo blue mixed with white, which is a thing. So it's looking like our back leaves are done. So we can go in and add in some of the individual streaks. So what we're going to do is I'm loading up some of that reddish orange color that we just mixed up. And I'm just having the brush perpendicular to the paper, and I'm just doing little movements like this to just get the streaks. And you're generally going to want them to go towards the tip of the leaf, of the petal. To kind of create that look of the fold in the petals. And I'm not working from any particular reference photo. I'm just kind of working with my own knowledge base of how these flowers are constructed. So what we can do now is we can go in and do more work on the pod and the vertical bit. So I'm just going to go in with a thin glaze of some of that neutralized green just to kind of deepen the shadow down here. I'm making sure to leave at least like a 1/4 inch of the top dry. Cleaning off the brush, picking up a little bit of blue, and then just dropping it in down here to kind of re-emphasize the shadow. Because when you're not using black in painting like you do generally with traditional watercolor, to add a shadow, you either add the complement of the original color or you add the deeper tone. And for green, the deeper tone is blue. You could even add some purple to get a little bit of the complement and the deeper tone, but you don't have to if you don't want to. And I don't want to, so I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna get a little bit of red, fully saturate the brush, and I'm gonna get my paper towel and just kind of put it up just past the ferrule onto the bristles and squeeze it a little bit just to kind of dry it out just a hair. And pun heavily intended on that, by the way. I'm just going to drop in a little bit of red on the top part of this where we left it dry. Because if you've ever seen the picture of a bird of paradise, they always have this red line right here. Okay, so that's done. Clean brush. I'm going to mix up some more green. A little bit of blue. Fair amount of yellow. I need more yellow than that. There we go. Okay, so it's a nice bright green, unneutralized. Go ahead and just kind of paint this part of it and then everything on this half of the shaft with a green. Then I'm going to get a little bit of red. Just kind of drop it in. I'm just going to repaint over what I literally just painted. That will help to create a shadow. And I think, yeah, these front 3 leaves are done, so we can go, they're done and dry. So that means that we can go in and add the details on that. Going to get some red. That's a lot of red. Put a little bit there. In the brush, I'm going to get some yellow now. I'm going to mix up a nice fiery orange. A little more red. There we go. I'm going to turn this upside down to make it easier on me. Then I'm going to go in and just add the streaks the same way we did there. Except I'm not going to do short strokes. So they're going to be longer. And as you get to the middle of the almond shape, you're going to, what I like to do is just kind of add one down the center a little bit, not having it completely connected. And then as you get to the wider parts of the petals, you add more lines to kind of give it the appearance of being wider than it actually is. I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay, I'm just going to add some in there. Okay, so that's looking better. Now I'm just going to go in with some just straight yellow and just kind of, that's too thick. Going to want it the consistency of about skim milk. I'm just going to go in over the top of the back 3 petals. Some yellow just to kind of warm it up a little bit because I feel like they're looking a little cool. Okay, so now we can either just let it air dry or we can heat gun it. And I'm going to heat gun it. I will be right back. And we're back. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to get a little bit of the cerulean blue. And I'm going to squeegee my brush again, just half of the bristles, just past the ferrule. And what we're going to do is we're going to outline this little archy bit and then just as it goes out like that, just to kind of give it a little more of a visual pop. Also because these are generally appearing, these generally do appear that way in nature. There we go. You know what, I'm gonna just pull that down the stem of it too, just to give it a little more weight. Cleaning the brush, everything's dry. So what I'm going to do now is go in with some of that watered down yellow that I had before, and I'm just going to do some more of these little lines. They're not going to be real noticeable, they're going to be really subtle, but it'll just kind of warm up all of the leaves a little more. Okay, now that part is done. What we can do now is get some of this bright green that we used earlier, mix it up with the neutralized, a little bit of red. We want an almost burnt sienna brownish color. And we're just going to kind of go in and put some really thin lines along the pot. If a big brush is too big for you, please do not feel like you have to use the big one. I just like using the biggest brush I possibly can. Feel free to go in with like a liner or a rigger brush or something like that if you need. Adding in some lines. Okay. It's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to go ahead and glaze this color over this part again. I'm going to do the entire shaft of it. And yeah, that's looking pretty good to me. One thing you can do if you want is you can go in with a micron or a Pigma pen or a Sharpie or what have you. You can go in and you can add in more lines and things like that, and you can outline everything and give it that appearance if that's what you want. But I'm not going to do it because I kind of like the unlined look personally. And yeah, that's the painting. Thank you for watching, and please tag me on Instagram if you did this painting at Freestyle Fine Art, and please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks.